Aloha, everyone. Michelle Melendez with blossominnerwellness.com, standtogetherhawaii.com, and this is also on the Voice of Kona radio show, which is 100.5 FM here on the islands. And I'm super, super excited because today I have an amazing man. He's a 40-year lawyer, and he created a very special site called How to Win in Court. And his name is Dr. Graves, and I'm going to have him give you his spiel in a moment. But I do want to share just briefly, the sponsor of my channel is Ace of Coins. If you have any tax issues, any accounting issues, if you want to learn about how to get crypto tax-free legally, and also, if you want to understand how to license your own biometric data, please go to aceofcoins.com and learn more from John J. Singleton. That's aceofcoins.com. And the link is in the description on this video. So Dr. Graves, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
So you've seen a lot of court cases. You've been a lawyer for 40 years.
Yep.
And you created a website. Let me just go ahead and bring that up. It's called How to Win in Court. And I have been actually studying it for the past couple of days. It's pretty amazing. It it actually is simple to go through. You're making a very what layman people like me think about court as in scary, complicated, the objection and the motions and all of that, and you've turned it into something that's really simple with your How to Win in Court website. And you guys, the description is in the link below for anybody who's interested. But can you share, why did you create this for people?
Well, before I went to law school, I believe that God, I believe whatever you want to believe God is, that there's something going on, and
Absolutely.
each of us is led into a different channel or a different path, and some people are very fortunate and they're led into a path that leads to something that is beneficial to other people. And I think that's what happened to me. Before I went to law school, I read a bunch of books. I'm not sure why I read them, but somehow I was led to read a bunch of old books. And just before I went to law school, I was befriended by a 4-star Marine Corps general who was vice commandant of the Marine Corps. And he had me to his home one afternoon. He sat there and talked to me about various things that we could talk about now that are issues. You remember yesterday, Michelle, you and I talked about there's issues, and then there are principles, and then there are tools and weapons to resolve the issues by applying the principles. And so he told me, never give up the fight. I had no idea that I was going to even go to law school at that point. I was a carpenter. I taught night school. I was teaching in a private school, actually in Orlando at the time, and I was happy there. I taught chemistry and physics and had a good life, I guess. But I was challenged, and a bunch of things happened that caused me to end up wanting to know more about America and the principles, that's what I call them, the principles that never change, things that can guide us to a better life for ourselves and for people that we love and care about, for this nation that's been given to us to cherish, to protect, to uphold, to believe in, once again, as a united people, and not a divided people that are at each other's throats, but a people united. And I saw all these wonderful good things. And then I had an opportunity to go to law school. And I told the headmaster, I said, I will apply to one law school, and if they accept me, I'll go. If they don't, I'll stay here and teach in this private school till I die. And they accepted me to go to law school. And I soon learned some things that really surprised me. I had no idea. I think, like most people, we just kind of have an idea about what things are, but then when you're immersed in it and you find out what it's really all about, it bothered me right away. First year class in criminal law, it bothered me. I will never forget that. I'm getting. I hope I'm not being too long winded, but I remember
No,
one
I love the story.
Professor
So
Beatty.
what yeah.
Professor Beatty challenged the class, and I was the oldest person in the class. I didn't go to law school until I was 39, and everybody else was in the early 20s. And he said, how many of you would agree if we found a way to test a hair follicle for the proclivity to commit violent crime? How many of you would agree that we could take people into custody to if their hair follicles showed they were, and all but two people in a class of 150 agreed.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's disturbing.
These are people who later became lawyers, and a lot of them became judges, and these supposedly were cream of the crop. So I have been all these years motivated to try to reveal to the American public, and now, of course, people in Spain and Ireland, and Nova Scotia, and Australia, New Zealand, all over the world, that there are these principles that never change, and they will guide us to a better life for ourselves and for those we love and for our nations. Because now there are other people in other nations are interested in what I seem to be proponing. Is there's a word, proponing. The idea is there are rules, and when we know the rules, and we know how to enforce the rules, we know how to force people in high places to obey the rules, then we don't have to complain and cry in our beer nearly so often. We can actually make an effort, and that's the problem, as you and I talked about yesterday. That's the mountain we have to get over with people, is that, yeah, you're going to have to learn something.
Yeah.
And from my experience teaching in school, people they want everything easy. They want it all easy. But right now, people are so angry about this, that, and the other thing that it seems to me that now is the time for us to take responsibility and learn how to use the courts, because the political process is not working.
Correct.
Voting for this person, voting for that person is getting to where more and more that money is what puts people in office, not the people that, and even when we get somebody in office, they're not obeying the principles. We've forgotten the principles
And
that
they're
this
not
nation
following
was
their oath of
built on.
office. Yeah, they're not following their oath of office.
Well, they're not following the principles. They're not following the common law principles. They're not following the things that were understood by the founders.
Yes.
And so what we've got ourselves into is a mess. And I believe that the way to get out of the mess is for the American people to understand you have power. You have the rules of evidence. You have courtroom objections. You have the ability to control the court. You can understand what a cause of action is. You can write a pleading. You can then be heard in court where it matters, instead of carrying a sign in the street or getting all angry or holding your breath and turning blue. That's not helping anyone.
And what
But
I love about your site is you've made it really easy. You've broken things down. You have a flow chart. I'm like, so I've been reading it and then I've watched a couple of the videos and I already feel like, oh my gosh. And what I love too, one of the things that you said in your videos, you have to have confidence to go in there and do this. And I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Because I told you yesterday, we've written an affidavit to the governor stating all of the things, how he's violated the Constitution, perjured his oath of office. And you told me that's great, but all that's going to do is show that you state under perjury that this is true. So, but you said there's something else we can do. We can take him to court. Can you explain what we can do that's even more powerful than the affidavit?
well, there are what we call pleadings, a complaint or a petition, one or the other. And it really doesn't matter what you call them, but what they do is they have to be answered. Nobody has to answer an affidavit. There's no requirement. There are some crazy people out there. I hope I'm not stepping on it. Well, I guess I'm kind of hoping maybe I do step on some toes. Maybe it's time we step on some toes. There are people out
Absolutely.
there that think that if you send a certain kind of paper to somebody else, that if they don't respond within a certain period of time, suddenly whatever it was you said becomes fixed in law, that it's etched in stone. That's nonsense.
That was my
You
understanding.
you
Okay.
can't unilaterally you can't unilaterally cause somebody to enter into an obligation. I mean, if that were true, I'd be mailing. I'd hire a company to mail out letters to people. You owe me $1,000 if you don't pay me on Tuesday. You owe me the
Well, what
thousand
my
dollars. It's
understanding
nonsense.
was, what my understanding was is that the affidavit, if it's not rebutted, you take the affidavit into court with you.
Well, but when
So
you
you're
go to
saying that
court,
we do a pleading.
when you go to court, you're going to have to take a pleading. You can't. You can file an affidavit in. I imagine the clerk won't even file an affidavit. You have to have a case file, and the pleading
Okay.
is what starts that. If it's a complaint, then you file a complaint. The clerk issues a summons, and the summons and complaint are attached to each other and served by the sheriff or licensed process server. And now you've seen this on TV. Excuse me, sir, and you hand them the paper and you've been served. Well, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Now they have to answer the complaint. They have to deal with you. You have a chance to be heard. You have a chance to call witnesses. You have a right to enforce these rules that I've proven that an eighth grader can understand these things. I mean, 26 years I've been doing this on the web. And so I challenge the American people. If you're upset about something that's going on, no matter what it is, and we talked about this yesterday on the phone, that I don't get into issues with people. I have my own position on issues, of course. But the big issue that I want people to understand is it doesn't make any sense not to know how to enforce your ideas to be heard, to make a record,
Yes.
to be able to file an appeal, to be preparing for appeal so that you can file a successful appeal if the judge rules against you and he goes off the rails and does something weird or allows the other
Mm-hmm.
side to do something weird, and you can
Yep.
appeal. But you can learn how to do this. You can learn it very quickly, whether you use my course to learn it or whether you learn it on your own. I would urge people, please don't learn it from amateurs. There's a host of people out there who are amateurs. They have their own website, they have Telegram sites. Uh, they know enough to throw around a few words, but they haven't won any cases. I've won case after case after case after case. I even got to the
Mm-hmm.
point where other lawyers hired me to tell them how to do it. So why not learn from me? Or at least go to a law library. Don't take these these amateur people's their ideas. Don't take it to heart. Don't act on it. Learn what the rules are because it's easy to learn. Now, once you know what the rules are, and you file a pleading, and you're saying that this person has done this, you ran over my dog or whatever it might be. Now they have to answer, and
Yes.
they don't
That's what
have
we
to
want.
answer an affidavit. It's not a court
Correct.
filing. But once you've got your foot in the door, then you have 5 tools. They're called discovery tools to force evidence, to get evidence out of these people, to make them do things they may not want to do. It can be fun, a certain amount of fun, but here's a request for production of documents. Dear sir, I need you to produce your bank records for this particular account for the year of 2023. Well, I don't want to do that. Well, we don't care whether you want to do it or not. You must do it. And if you don't do it within the period of time that the rule requires you to do it, then I file a motion to compel production. And then we set that for hearing, and eventually the judge orders them to produce it. I had one judge tell a fellow said, "Well, that's my bank record. My bank has that record." And the judge said, "Yes, and you'll be back here at 2 o'clock with the record." He was ordered to do it, and if he hadn't done it, the judge would have put him in jail. But this power belongs to everyone. It doesn't just belong to me because I went to law school. It belongs to each and every one of you because the rules belong to you. The rules that are America is really what America is all about. You have rights. And the most important right you have is the right to enforce your rights, to compel people in high places to do things they may not want to do. And I think it's time for the American people to stand up, but do it responsibly. Don't just pull something out of the air or listen to Billy
Yeah.
Bob over here that's got his idea and he wants you to, give him this piece of paper and by God, if they don't respond within 3 days, then, whatever. No, why not do it according to the rules? Because when you do it according to the rules, it's like in baseball. The pitcher throws the pitch and you swing, you miss the ball. Pitcher throws another pitch, you swing, you miss the ball. The umpire says, go sit down. No,
You
no,
got another chance. Yeah,
two strikes, I'm not out yet.
exactly.
Well, you take the same attitude when you go into court and you say, no, people died for my right to be here. People died for my right to be heard. People died for my right to force you to answer my questions under oath. And if you don't, and you refuse to disobey the rules that my friends died for, you're going to go to jail. I want people to know that. I want
Yes,
people to have
absolutely.
that kind of power because that is why we have this nation. It's a
Mhm.
nation dedicated to the idea that we all have this right. It's not
Yes,
just that we're equal, it's that we're equal in the right to stand up for ourselves, to be heard, to call witnesses, to demand documents, to demand evidence, to move the court to sign orders and do all these things. And apparently it's been kept in the dark too long. I mean, the bar's made no effort to educate the American public about
no,
any of
that's
this.
by
So I
design.
decided it's about time. I thought I would just, what the heck, I'll do it. And I
That's awesome. I
beg
love
people
it.
to learn how to do this. Yeah.
So I have a question about the like county council members and the city council members who are absolutely ignoring the will of the people. We have Hawaii state constitution. The very first article is political power rests with the people. The people, the government is governed by the consent of the people. And so we've had 4 hours. There was one uh, thing in the county council, Big Island County Council, and it was a bill that had come up, and over 4 hours worth of people said no, don't pass it. Two people, one was a former mayor, one was, I think, a former police chief or something, said yes. They passed this bill. They totally violated their oath of office. Can we take them? Can we take that to court? Can we complain about that? Because does their oath of office, does that matter?
If you know how to go to court, if you know how to draft a pleading to allege what we call a cause of action by stating the essential facts that support a cause of action, you can do that. You can petition the court for writs, a writ of mandamus. A mandamus is where a higher court orders somebody to do something because they were obligated by law to do it. Another one is quo warranto. It sounds like a fancy thing, but it just means, by what authority? Answer this question. Why are you not doing this? But if until you learn the rules and you just, stomp your feet and cry, it's not getting us anywhere. Having another
Yeah,
website complaining about this, that, and the other thing, and the sky is falling. Come on, people, it's not getting us anywhere. Why don't we
that's
learn the
exactly right.
rules? It's not hard to, if it were hard to learn the rules, well, number one, I wouldn't have been successful with this website for 26 years, helping. There's almost 4,000 people enrolled in the course right now. If it were hard to learn, then I wouldn't have wasted my time. But that's what, when the light went on with me, when I had already been a lawyer for almost 10 years. I've told this story so many times. I, I was going to write a motion. So I started out, comes now the plaintiff by and through his undersigned attorney and moves this honorable court to enter an order pursuant to rule, and I couldn't remember the rule number. I'll never forget. It was rule 1.370. I know that now. So I grabbed my rule book, which was yay thick. There you go. And when I looked for the rule, I found out that there were only like 18 pages in this big thick rule book that I even had to use for the past 10 years. The rules, the rules of evidence in every federal case, 19 pages. Why weren't you
I can
told?
read 19 pages. I can read 19 pages.
Well, yeah, you can read them. And then when you have someone like me to explain them in common sense terms that an eighth grader can understand, then you look at the rule, you look at what my course says, and you say, I understand that. So when the attorney on the other side starts to testify about facts that he has no personal firsthand knowledge about, objection, Your Honor. Counsel's testifying. He lacks competence to testify about things he has no firsthand knowledge of. And guess what? The judge has to tell the lawyer to sit down and shut up, or call witnesses, or produce documents, or do this and the other thing. But if you don't know these things, then you go to court, you stumble, you lose, and then you can go home and you can tell all your friends that the judge was dishonest, and it's sad, and America's going to hell. And you can do all that stuff, when in fact America is not going to hell if the American people will learn how to take this power that I offer
We're
you
taking her back.
with this course, take this power and make these people in high places obey the law.
Awesome. Yeah, we're taking her back, you guys. I really feel that because I think enough of us have had enough of this absolute ridiculousness and the fact that this fascism is becoming is here. It's like in our face. So if we don't take her back, what we're leaving for our children is just that, is a fascist regime, in my opinion.
Well,
So
may I
I
speak?
love
May I
this and
speak?
this.
May I speak to that
Yeah,
briefly?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. Here's light. Here's darkness. Okay. You take away the light, the darkness increases. You put more light, the darkness goes away. Now, fascism and it all comes down to having a king, absolute rule by an individual or by a small number of people. Think of that as the darkness. Think about the people's force. Think about the force of the people. And here's the force of the people today, because the
Yeah.
people don't have power. Knowledge is power. Nothing else is. I mean, there are people that can't write an English sentence. We can't help them. Maybe we can teach them a little bit about English. Okay. But as the people begin to gain power, this is the people, us, we, the people. What happens is we begin to take these people in high places and we make them do their jobs. We make them obey the law.
Yes.
Make them do what's right. We make them stop conning us with all of their games. We make them stop
Yes.
pandering to us and offering us things that ultimately cost money for future generations that won't be able to afford to pay for.
Yeah.
But at first, it comes with this: the power of the people has to be established if you want this nation to survive the onslaught of this darkness, which is the power of a handful of people to run the show, a handful of corporations, a handful of politicians that have more money than God. It's got to stop. But it isn't going to stop by complaining about it. And you know this to be true. We had a good discussion yesterday. It's never going to stop until the American people themselves decide, okay, I will learn these rules. I will understand the rules of evidence. I will understand how and when and why to object. I will know how to write a pleading. And I will go to court and I will be heard and I will call witnesses and I will force these people to produce documents. I will force them to answer questions under oath. Maybe I won't win, but by God, I will be heard. And this is what's been missing in this country for 200 years, and it's
Yes.
missing in other countries. And
Mhm.
now I understand that Putin had his opponent murdered, maybe, allegedly, whatever. We don't want that over here.
Mhm.
This is not Russia. This is not France. It's not Germany. It's not Spain. It's not England even. It's America,
Correct.
a nation that was propagated on the idea of liberty for the individual. You don't have any liberty if you don't know how to enforce your rights. You might as well not have any rights if you don't know how to enforce your
That's
rights. What do you do?
correct.
Hire a lawyer and hope that you get a good one. And the odds of getting a good lawyer today is like almost nothing in my experience. Most of them I ran into were dumber than a sack of rocks. And if that upsets some of them, too bad.
No,
This,
I agree with that. Yeah,
so
100%. And
so
this
why don't
is
we
the
just
time.
why
It's
don't we
now or
do that?
never.
Why don't we just learn how to win in court instead of just complaining and thinking we'd get enough trucks together, well, that'll make somebody do something. No, you go to court and you make people do things. And that's where your
Yes.
power lies. It's
And you
it's
do it yourself. You stand in your own sovereign power and learn this stuff, which you've made really, really easy. So you guys click on the link in the description for How to Win in Court, going right to his website. And literally, when you start to read it, you'll be like, oh my gosh, he lays it out so simply. He's got a flow chart. Even the font is fun to read. He's got little pictures, and it's really something great. I'm super excited because I'm going for it. I'm gonna learn how to do the pleading, and we're gonna make it happen. And that's going to start next week. Well, actually, I'm going to start today, but I want to get it filed by next week or before March, because what they did in Lahaina was an attack in factually we have fire captains stating that was not a regular wildfire. We have an arborist who says there's no way a wildfire would forget to burn the trees. So this is like these people need to be held accountable for the murder of what happened to Lahaina, and the fact that they're not even mentioning all of the people who are still missing. Like they said, they went the death toll went from 115 to 97. How that happens in a wildfire, I don't know, but mainly because the police chief is the coroner, which is also against the Constitution. But there's so many things about that. So I'm super excited to just know this knowledge and to have gone through some of your site already. You're making it really, really easy for people. So I just want to say thank you so much from the American people who want to stand up for our freedom and for our rights. Because if we don't, who will? We can't expect our children to stand up for their rights. It's on us. We're the ones who said we're going to do this.
well, let's emphasize this once again. Okay. Stand up, stand up. We've heard it. I've heard it. I was a child of the 60s. People, they wanted me to go out and lie down in the road to prevent the governor from driving his limousine out of the airport one day. I said, come on, give me a break. Why don't we learn how to do this the right way? Why don't we learn how to go to court? And to me, it makes no sense. It's a no-brainer. If you have a 357 Magnum in your back pocket and you don't know you have it, and you're waving your arms and you're complaining about this, oh my, and you've got this power, it belongs to you. You don't have it. It's there. It's for you. But we've allowed the lawyers to make it their merchandise. And I know that's not right. And you now know that's right. And the people that may listen to this or hear it on the radio or whatever, they know deep down in their hearts that's not right. The justice should not be merchandise. It shouldn't be something that's bought and sold by a handful of people that happen to be members of the bar. I happen to be a member of the bar. They can't get rid of me because what I do is good. What I do is honest and proper and reasonable and responsible. But I call the American people, learn about your power to make change in this country because we need change. We need to go back to the principles that are the bedrock of your liberty and your children's future.
So I have a question, two questions. Is it stronger if more people do the petition? Is it stronger for more people to file this,
It's
or
more
just
complicated.
okay?
You're just creating a mess because then the opposition has more people to question, takes more time, and we can't be sure everybody that's on our team knows what they're doing. And it's a good idea for a group of you to get together to talk about what the pleading should say, what the motion should say, and how they should say it, and study the course so you do it correctly. But one plaintiff's as good as 20. And
Okay.
because what you're trying to do is force people to answer questions under oath, produce documents, tell you by what authority this was done. And if it wasn't done the way it's supposed to be done, then you end up with a court order which requires people to repair whatever they messed up. It's not rocket science, people. It's really,
Okay.
really simple. It's been going on for years and years and years, but you didn't know because
Yeah.
nobody came along to give you the tools and weapons to do the job. So I came along, give you the tools and weapons to do the job so that you can stand up for yourselves and be heard. Call
Awesome.
witnesses, make people produce documents or make them go to jail. You have that power. I've done that. I've
Mhm.
made people go to jail because they didn't want to answer questions. That belongs to
So
you.
if you're listening to this and you want to be on Team Hawaii, so please email me. My email's in the description. Let's do this together. I'm gonna do it regardless. I'm gonna be going through this course regardless of any help, but I can always use help. So if you want to do that, please email me. And the other question I have is, how do we start? Like, where do we start with the proclamation? Where do we start with the petition? On Is it on the government website? Is it on our court? Where's the paperwork?
Well, you haven't
Where do
gotten
we
into the
start with
course
this?
enough, but you will get to the place where it will talk about pleadings and
The
causes of
pleading.
action. And they're just pieces of paper that allege, just another word of saying they state certain facts. They state the law that kicks in if those facts are true. And then you have discovery to prove that the facts you said were true. And then you move the court to do what the court is obligated to do. And when the court doesn't do it, if you've prepared everything properly, you have an opportunity to get a higher court, which in that case, you have at least 3 justices who are going to decide whether or not this case needs to go back down to the trial judge. But it's all straightforward. But before we get off, let's remember too, the young lady came home from work at the restaurant to find her children were taken, or the man who was just a truck driver who he would be in prison now, but for my course. People who were accused of crimes they didn't commit. People who lose because the other side was allowed to use circumstantial evidence improperly. Circumstantial evidence is a probability. It's not proof. Probability is not proof. The
Hmm.
system needs to be adjusted by the people because you can't expect the bar to do that. The bar is going to adjust the system to try to get as much money out of your pocket as possible and do as little work as possible. And
Hmm.
the bar knows I've taken this position over and over again. You're not the first person to interview me. I think the people need to understand there's a reason why there's so many lawyer jokes. So now let the American people learn what the lawyers know. You can learn it quickly. And then when
Yeah.
you have to go to court because something went wrong, your children are missing, so you've been accused of a crime, or the governor's done something you shouldn't have done, or the city council, or whoever it might be, you go to court and you make them answer questions under oath. You just have to do it the right way. You can't just pull it out of thin air. But if you do it the right way, you win. You're allowed 3 strikes in baseball. 3.
Hmm.
You're not allowed 4, but you are allowed 3. And there are rules. It's kind of fun to say you. I told you the rules of evidence, every federal court, criminal, civil, doesn't matter, 19 pages. The rules of Major League Baseball, 125 pages. So why don't we all learn these things and stand up for America?
Absolutely. I love that. Oh, not well said, not better said than that. Well, that's fantastic. So again, you guys, if to learn more, check out the link below. I'm also going to put this on standtogetherhawaii.com. It'll be on there, and it'll also be on my Blossom Inner Wellness website. The link to this course, if you're listening online, is there, as well as in the description of this YouTube channel. So, Dr. Graves, I always do a quick prayer right at the end of my interviews. But is there anything else you'd like to share before we pray?
Thank you,
Awesome.
and
Thank
pray
you.
God
This is
blesses us, make us take up this responsibility. I,
yeah,
I, I will say one
absolutely.
thing before you pray.
Sure.
Okay. See if I can remember to say it correctly. The Lord will not do for us what we refuse to undertake and attempt.
Mhm. Yeah, that pretty much says it all. We have to step forward. We can't expect somebody else to save us. That's been my saying for a long time. I don't believe a political person is going to save us. I think we are the white hats, and we are the ones that are going to save ourselves. And that's
And the
the power that
power
we have.
and your power is in the courts, not at the voting poll.
No, definitely not at the voting poll, not in petitions to, people sign this, not in protesting. I've done all of that. I've done
And
all of
I'm
it.
not saying
So,
not to vote. Oh, I want you to vote. But the real power of the people is when you take somebody to court. I mean, they ran over my dog. I mean, if they did, no, nobody did. But if somebody runs over my dog, we're going to court. If they lie about me and it costs me money, we're going to go to court. If they try to force me to do something that I don't think the law gives them the right to do, we're going to court. I'm not just going to complain about it or start a new website over it. And I believe in America. I believe in the America that I understand, the America that's hidden from the people, that now is the time for us to find out what America is really all about. And it's time for us to let these people in high places find out what the American people are all about.
mhm, absolutely. Yeah. Let's remind them that this was founded on the people, for the people, by the people, and it is still that way. So let's do it, you guys. So, okay. Great Spirit, infinite intelligence of all things. Just so much gratitude for Dr. Graves and his journey in creating this amazing website, How to Win in Court. And just so grateful for all of the light workers, all of the people that have joined this program, that are standing up for freedom, that are doing what is ours to do, what is our kuleana, what is ours to do by holding these people accountable and making this right for America, because this is the land of the free, the home of the brave. So let's prove that by standing up for our rights, by doing what is right for our children, for our keiki, so that the future is bright for them, so they know what it feels like and what it is like to live in freedom. So we are so grateful for this time right now, Great Spirit, because we know that all of those who are in a leadership role, they are being peaceably removed from office or voluntarily leaving, because the light is returning to the planet. The light is here in each one of us. And we are just so grateful that there is peace on earth. There is harmony with all people. And we just know that it is happening here in the islands of Hawaii. We know it is happening on the mainland and in Canada and in Mexico, in Europe, in Israel, in Palestine, in Ukraine, in Russia, in China, Australia, Africa, New Zealand, that all places around the world, the people are brave and they're standing up for what is right and what is ours to do, which is to hold these people accountable and to see, trusting in you, Great Spirit, that this is a journey that we have chosen to come and take, and that all is happening for us to wake up and to stand for what is right, which is our truth, the right of unalienable rights that were given to us by you, Great Spirit. Thank you so much. And I know it is done. And so it is. Dr.
Amen.
Graves, thank you so much for joining.
My
And
pleasure.
again, you guys, check out those links in the description, or go to standtogetherhawaii.com or blossominnerwellness.com. And remember our sponsor, which is aceofcoins.com. Much aloha, everyone from the Big Island.
Aloha.